Our society has shifted views on suicide, parasuicide, and deliberate self-harm. The generation that seems to have viewed, shaped, and understood this change more deeply than any others are the college ages 18 to 24 individuals. In this paper, we address various questions regarding such topics relating to college-age students that belong to both religious and non-religious institutions. We hope to answer the question of how we as students are able to change the general views we hold in regards to suicide and parasuicide. Religious commitment means something different in every part of the world.
There were studies that showed that 60% of suicide around the world occurred in Asia. Majority of them were college students. It is something that has become more widely known and has almost a sense of becoming more socially acceptable. While in Norway, it is considered a cry for help, and with African students, suicide is an act of revenge towards others. In a study that was done in 2014, they found that Chinese and Buddhists were more accepting of suicide when compared to Malay and Muslim.
While researching the respective suicide rates of active and less active members of the LDS Church, we found some interesting results. Practicing members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints commit to adhere to certain standards of living, such as the word of wisdom, the law of chastity, the law of tithing, and basic morality. But all these requirements and expectations have differing levels of pressure on different members, which may positively or negatively affect the likelihood of developing depression. LDS members, on the whole, have similar suicide rates to the rest of the world. Among BYU students, higher levels of religiosity were associated with lower levels of depression, fewer past suicide attempts, and lower rates of suicidal thoughts. This study basically found that less active members are 5 times more likely to attempt suicide than active members. We have no studies linking this difference to social interaction, but greater levels of expectations which are not met lead to greater levels of guilt. For the active members, however, who have lower rates of suicide than the rest of the world, these greater levels of expectations interestingly lower their rates of suicide. These findings could be summarized with the statement, "It is better to be a non-Mormon than a less active Mormon, and it is better to be an active Mormon than a non-Mormon."
There's no better way to dig into the insights of peers who have struggled with depression and parasuicide than to learn from their perspective and gain understanding from their experiences. Through this inquiry, we can discover our roles in their circumstances and find preventative measures that can be put into place to help them find safety. In our research, we included 2 contrasting voices whose names have been changed for the purpose of maintaining anonymity. Kathy is an inactive LDS college student at a non-religious institution, and Mary is an active LDS student at BYU, Idaho. Here are the following questions and responses. How did the role of your peers have an impact on your personal experiences? Kathy.
I didn't think that anyone really cared whether I lived or not. I didn't really have any good supportive friends beside my cousin.
Mary.
There was an army behind me, and for some reason I only saw one person, my ex. Our relationship was extremely toxic.
Do you feel that religion or faith played a role in your experience? Mary.
As Latter-day Saints, we know that we have agency. I used my agency to punish myself. I was convinced I deserved outer darkness, but at the time I could only see the pain that I had caused.
Kathy.
I was mad at God. I was mad that He allowed me to go through all of these hard times.
What do you wish your friends would have done? Mary.
My friends were amazing. However, there were friends that gave me space when I wished they hadn't.
Kathy.
I just wanted to fit in, so I went to any crowd that would accept me. These were the ones who got me into drugs, though.
So in some of the research, we found a couple stipulations. In most of the papers, the populations represented cultures outside of American Mormon college cultures, which is what we intended to specify in. The research we found did give data about religious beliefs and suicide prevalence, but mostly among other religious groups. Some studies found relationships, but cannot give a specific explanation of why their data was the same. A few research studies did not use the best means to classify religious activity.
Certain colleges strategize to help prevent suicide through speeches about suicide and all the risk of it. What they do is have interventions, finding help through social media, campus media, figuring out memorials, and caring for those affected. The average of suicides is 7 out of 100,000 students. Post-interventions can also help save lives by hopefully preventing additional suicides. You can possibly save someone's life by noticing and reaching out to anyone. You might be in emotional distress. All you have to do is ask them, "Are you okay?"
This is the conclusion of our broadcast. Thank you for listening.